Norfolk Business Show with Danny Snelling. Sponsored by MT Comms.
Chris Elliott, everybody. Lovely to have you with us.
Thanks for inviting me on.
It's all right, it's a pleasure. Obviously, we've known each other quite a few years, and through many different roles you've had with various charities mainly. But do you want to tell our listeners what you're sort of getting up to these days and what the charity is, we want to promote today? I guess.
Yeah. So I've been at Hopestead charity for just over 3 months now. Probably not one of the biggest charities, certainly not one of the biggest. Maybe not that well known just now, and I guess, I'd like to change that. Hopestead's about tackling homelessness in the east of England at the moment. And I guess what, through our discussion today, I'd like to get into really is just help people understand the scale of homelessness in the east of England. There's 25,000 homeless people in the east of England.
Wow.
So it's a huge problem. I don't think that's understood, the scale of it. And shine a light, obviously, on what Hopestead's doing. We're a small team. There's only 4 of us. But we're part of a big organisation, Bromford Flagship. People will probably know of Flagship Homes, Flagship Housing. Flagship merged with Bromford earlier this year, which does very similar work in the west of England. So we've kind of got that big funder, supporter stroke thing as part of what Hopestead can lean on and use. And that's a good bond. But it's as a team and as a kind of what we're doing, it's very much about shining a light on that problem and then rallying people and seeing who wants to get involved and kind of help us help more people.
And you mentioned it's only been obviously quite recent that you've joined then. I've certainly known you in other roles. Perhaps if we can sort of start way back, how did you get there, and what have you been doing your entire career? So my working career sort of kicked off. I grew up in Shropshire. I went to university in Sheffield. At no stage did I really have an idea what career path I wanted, all the way through to finishing university, but kind of something struck me about financial services. So I started applying for jobs in my final year at university afterwards. And it was quite a lot of luck or fate involved, really, that one of the first jobs I saw and applied for and ultimately secured was working for Norwich Union in Norwich. I'd never been to Norwich prior to my interview. So this is back in the summer of 1988. They offered me the job. I took the job. So I moved here that autumn, and I had over 20 years working at Norwich Union, Aviva as it became, in all sorts of marketing roles. So I was there for that, a couple of decades. Probably did a dozen different jobs, and I guess that was marketing within that.
Marketing, business development, product development, kind of a whole host of different things. And I guess that was the big opportunity and the big asset, I suppose, of working in a really big organisation. I think there's still kind of 5,000 plus working there in Norwich. So you can move around, you can kind of do a really varied career, but without the upheaval of actually leaving the same company. And so that took me all the way through to about 12 years ago. And I guess at that point, I think they probably are still in the cycle of pretty regular reorganisations, redundancies, opportunities to leave. And one of those came along in 2012, and something just felt to me like, I think Aviva's changed a lot from what it was in terms of culture. I wasn't enjoying being there as much. And it just felt a point like, I'm ready to leave now. And again, without really knowing what was next, but I kind of knew it was good. I needed to move on. And there was a really good exit process, which sounds a weird thing to say, but actually one of the things Aviva did was provide everyone leaving a 2-day course run independently, an external organisation, to help everyone find and understand what they might want to do next, and it rather than focusing on
that's quite
it was just, a really good course, really good couple of days, and it wasn't focusing on industries or sectors or roles. It was kind of getting under the skin of what is it in you that you like doing, what motivates you, what are the things, the essentials in your role. So almost like the ingredients.
Wow, that's incredible. I've never heard of a company doing that.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do it, but it was a really valuable thing. So I came away there again, not knowing like what I wanted to do specifically, but having something I could reference and say, well, these are the things when I was there, kind of off-site for a couple of days, really taking stock of my situation. And that proved really valuable because then I started looking for jobs, what's out there. And my very simple criteria was I love living in Norwich. I've put down huge roots there, here. And so I just want to stay in Norwich. I still think I've got something around marketing kind of roles. That's what I've got a skill set there and I enjoy that. And then the other one was I want to work in a much smaller organisation. So part of the reasons...
Not difficult to find a smaller organisation.
Absolutely, because you're working for the biggest one, but like loads smaller. Do you know what I mean? There was things about Aviva which I thought are kind of partly how big corporate business life was that I thought that is something about that doesn't gel with me anymore. So I wanted to work for a much smaller organisation where it's a little bit more tangible about what you do, a bit more about doing stuff rather than having meetings about doing stuff, and about having real tangible, this is what you've got to deliver. It's down to you, kind of that accountability thing. So that course kind of flushed out those things that were essential to me alongside things like being trusted, being accountable and responsible for stuff. Kind of it's on you, it's clear what we're looking for. And then I'm starting to look for jobs and see kind of, well, what's matching up here. And one of the first jobs that came along that I sort of caught my eye was one for the Benjamin Foundation. At that point, very much a North Norfolk charity based in North Walsham.
I think actually that's where we first met.
I think it would have been.
Maybe quoting for something on Pottergate. Was that a connection? Or?
Yeah, there was some stuff going on there. That's right.
I think I quoted the building there, I think.
Yes. You're right.
Cabling or IT. And
and I kind of thought, well, I kind of knew the founder, Richard Draper, an incredibly inspirational guy, one of the most incredible leaders and inspiring people I've ever come across in my life. He'd set the charity up off the back of losing his son Benjamin in a motorcycle accident when he was in his teens. And Richard wanted to invest in young people and helping support people in North Norfolk. So the charity had been around about 17, 18 years, I think, when I joined it. But again, it felt like, wow, there's a job to do to kind of help people understand what the charity's doing and rally support and get some momentum behind it. So they'd not had a full-time marketing and fundraising person in the charity for all that time. They'd run really effectively in terms of securing grants from local authorities, set up a bit of a trading kind of aspect of the organisation through furniture stores. But there was perhaps wasn't punching its weight in terms of external awareness and support.
Yeah. Well, I certainly do remember it well, and I think, I'm sure you'll agree, it was very much, you put that charity on the map in Norwich, because I remember not having heard of it before, and soon enough I had. And I don't know if that's because maybe I'm connected to the business world and you targeted the business world, and that worked for you. I don't know, but it's certainly, I remember it, hearing about it everywhere. And again, it's just probably because you were targeting that area of help, I guess. But
a little bit of that, and I think then the thing that followed after I'd been there a year, the charity relocated into its office now, which is down on St Andrews Street, which was about reflecting that was a better base for recruiting. The fact that the charity was working right around Norfolk, not just North Norfolk, so kind of a North Walsham head office didn't kind of actually wasn't as convenient. So it was about practical stuff for the charity to move forwards. But I certainly could recognise that, hang on, we're right there on St Andrews Street, quite a prominent building, busy footfall right next to St Andrews car park, and in the heart of the business community in Norwich. And I could certainly see, wow, we suddenly become visible. Even by people seeing the building, we're suddenly, I know where you are. And that created an opportunity, I think. And then I suppose, again, soon after that, through the Benjamin Foundation, doing work around homelessness at its heart, about providing accommodation for lots of young people, young adults across the county who didn't have a home. I then got kind of given the opportunity to create the Sleep Out events in Norwich, and that became very quickly the biggest fundraising event every year. Amazing how many people sort of rallied to it, and year on year we managed to grow that in terms of how many people took part through to, I think it was the 5th or 6th year in 2019. I'd always wanted to do it at Carrow Road because I kind of saw that as like, I think it just might put it on the map even more. It'll maybe hook in people who are affiliated to the football club and think, wow, that's a bit of a different thing to do around the stadium. And we got 220 people sleeping out one night on that one in 2019, raising just about £90,000 collectively for that event.
Wow.
And it became, I think something I'm proud of helping deliver, but just in awe of how many people wanted to do it. People who are really reticent about the challenge of being outside for the night. It's obviously not what homelessness is, but it kind of did help people tune into the issue.
Definitely. Yeah. No, I remember them well. I think I didn't go as far as to take part. I just went and visited them. I think late at night and early in the morning. But no, it's very, very memorable events. Are they still going, or are they?
I think they're still going. I mean, lots of charities have done them. I think that was perhaps the biggest one that has been done in Norwich, but there's several charities do it. I think it's quite a common thread of different. And the reason the Benjamin Fund did it was we were affiliated to other charities around the country. There was some coordination about having a night or a couple of weeks in November when lots of charities were doing it. So we kind of team up and get a little bit of national press coverage to say these events are happening all across England, the UK. That was kind of probably the standout, I guess, events and things I'm proud of at the Benjamin Foundation. So I was there for nearly 8 years. Reached a point again where I was getting itchy feet a little bit, and this was then coinciding with COVID as well. And obviously everything was, the world was turned upside down. We've all got our memories and our scars, I think, from 2020. For me, it was being put on furlough, which was the Benjamin Foundation's decision around obviously protecting revenue and jobs. But after 3 months, that was just not working for me. I think, by the time we got through to the summer, the world was starting to come out, things were happening. And I wanted to be part of that. So I decided to move on. And so I never came back off furlough, actually. And again, I was looking around, and at that stage, I kind of knew pretty much, well, I mean, I've hit a sweet spot here. My big transition, if you like, from a big corporate to a small charity, worked from the point of view of not just the Benjamin Foundation, but actually it kind of, this is what really fits me in terms of my motivators. And so I knew I was looking for something quite similar in terms of another charity job based in Norwich with an opportunity to build or grow something. And again, fortuitously, I saw something pretty quickly when I started hunting, which was a job at the feed.
Had you got a handle on maybe the figures and what you'd done for the Benjamin Foundation? Could you actually categorically say, look, this is what they were, this is what, when I left?
Oh, gosh.
Could you account, some of that to yourself? I mean, I'm sure you can.
Well, it was a team. And again, it was nice building a team. It started off just me. By the time I left, there was actually 4 of us working in marketing and fundraising. So we kind of added to the team along the way. I know in the final year, we got to over 300,000 fundraising. And I know when I started, it was less than 30,000. So over 6-7 years, it multiplied by 10 in terms of where we got fundraising to.
Yeah, it's good numbers.
As well as supporting all the trading side and helping grow the furniture stores and awareness as well. So, that's kind of about the scale of where we went on that journey.
So the feed then?
Yeah, the feed. So I'd kind of known again, you know when you're working in a similar sector, you get to know people, you get to know organisations. I'd kind of always liked what the feed was about in terms of a hybrid model, really, of kind of using food in many ways, using food to trade and have cafes in the city. So at the point I joined the feed, there was just the small cafe around the corner from where we are now on Prince of Wales Road. And there was a catering business providing food for businesses and functions of all kinds that wanted food. And then turning the profit from that, plus other funding, grants and so on, into helping the community in lots of different ways. So I joined in that summer of 2020. I joined in the autumn, actually, in October, and was there for a month. And then we went into another lockdown in November.
Yeah.
So I had a little window of meeting my colleagues, seeing them in person, and then we went into another one. So at least I had a flavour of what it should look like and what it could look like. And then, a long slog through that winter and springtime when the cafe wasn't allowed to open. It wasn't worth opening just as a takeaway type cafe because there was nobody in the city anyway. So the cafe didn't reopen until April 2021, I think. So it was a hard grind for us all at that point, keeping each other going and finding ways. So doing all what we all did, Zoom calls, Zoom conversations, informal Zoom networking, just trying to keep the word out there, but being ready to bounce back. And I guess probably a name check now for someone who's, again, absolutely incredible leader and an inspiring person, Lucy Parish, who was CEO at The Feed, really using that time to kind of say we're going to bounce back strongly and kind of keeping us all going and laying plans so that when we did reopen, there was absolutely, we were ahead of the game in terms of being able to grow the business. And I suppose one of the big things she steered was then about, like, we need to be trading much harder. We need to be ready to generate more revenue. So we need to be opening up more cafes. And within the 18 months of post-COVID, 4 new cafes opened for The Feed across the city, Waterloo Park being the biggest one, to take control really of revenue, profit, and then being able to invest it back in the community. And I guess the other big pivot for The Feed at that point was really recognising, because of what COVID had done and doing some really informal things about using the Prince of Wales Road Cafe as a drop-off point for food sector businesses for excess food, and making that available to anyone in the community who was struggling to afford food. That then set the path of, we need to do this on a proper footing. So open a social supermarket, providing really low-cost basics for people, because it became really apparent there's thousands of people in Norwich not able to eat well enough because they can't afford it. And so, a big growth curve, not only on the cafes and revenue side, but then on investing back into the community to help people with affordable food.
Did you get handouts from restaurants, venues, things like that? Or was it supermarkets as well? Or was it?
So in the COVID times, that was very much what was happening, because, as you know, the rules kept changing every month or two. So you'd have pubs and restaurants able to open, not able to open for outside takeaway only, all of this. So there was lots of occasions where there were these spikes of, hang on, loads of food businesses suddenly sitting on a load of stock they've got, but the rules have just changed. So now they need to get rid of it. They're not going to be able to open, or they're suddenly their takings are going to nosedive because customers aren't allowed out again. So that was very much in that kind of COVID era. The early parts of it was food sector businesses donating. Once we then sort of had the supermarket opened up a year later, that was very much built on a kind of proper supply chain. So the odd donations help, particularly fresh fruit and veg from local allotment growers, that kind of thing. But it was built on a supply chain like any other store, of having all the basics in stock all the time, but needing to.
Did you at the time get a handle on, just how much food is going to waste in the industry as a whole? Not just that's being donated, but just how much.
There are vast amounts. I'm not quite sure on the numbers, but it's anything to do with a quarter, a third of food produced is actually wasted. Whether that's by businesses, even at home, I think we're probably all guilty of buying a bit too much, letting it go past the use-by date. It's. I think it's unfortunate part of the society. We've got food wasted and others can't eat. That's not great, is it?
No, I've had some contact recently with another charity, FAB, FABB. I can't remember, Food and Beverage Buddies, I think they're called, and then they're doing a sort of similar thing where I believe they just look for food donations from either commercial or general public, and then they redistribute and package up for packages, food packages, to give to the. But yeah, there's some. They show me some frightening stats of what's actually going to waste at the moment. I guess that leads us quite closely to where we are now. Was there anything made you decide to change again, or was it just reach that time again? Or
I think, organisations are a function of their leaders at the end of the day. People change, direction changes. It did feel like we'd gone on a great curve upwards with the feed, and I kind of felt like it hit a plateau a little bit in terms of I'm not good at just maintaining the same thing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I like the challenge of having something new to sink my teeth into, something new to learn. So I kind of got to that stage again where I thought, I'll take stock, take time out. Again, moved on and left, but without knowing my next step. But I think once I'd done that for the first time when I'd left Aviva, I kind of felt comfortable with that. Things will sort themselves out, change,
doesn't it?
So
I remember seeing a LinkedIn post from you saying, right, that's it. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just
pretty much.
I'm just going to wait for the next opportunity.
Yeah, and I'm lucky that I could afford to take that time out, that I didn't have to go and leap on.
But it didn't seem like much time out.
The first job, but I booked. So this was end of January. I left the feed. I did go and have 4 days in Tenerife as a little.
4 days.
I've been promising myself time out in the winter and get some sunshine, and I thought, well, if I'm ever going to do it, it's going to be now. So I did that. But to be honest, even there, I took my laptop and I was sitting there and I was looking at what's going on, and teeing up a phone call or two for the next week. So it was lovely and I enjoyed the sunshine, but I knew this wasn't like me stepping back from my career. I was like, this is just okay. It's about looking for the next thing. Yeah. And I ended up having 3 months gap actually. I did do some freelancing, which was kind of partly to keep me this busy, but kind of I wanted to try it. It was the best opportunity I'd ever had to try it. So again, I stuck with what I know, which is charity sector, marketing, fundraising. Did some freelancing work with 3 different local charities, and that kind of I found that really interesting. It did confirm that it's not me though, because I kind of like being in a team.
Yeah, and I guess it must be difficult as well. You're sort of almost working on a tiny bit of a big project, and you're not seeing it through almost. Yeah,
it's very much about. It was about coaching people and giving them guidance about things that they would then lift, and kind of helping them look at their strategy, look at their marketing and communications. Where are we going? What should we do? What should we do more of, less of? So absolutely, it was that. And ultimately, if you're just a single freelance person, you're by definition it's a loner job. You're prepping at home and doing the prep. You're sending a proposal in. You're getting a day or two with the client, whatever it might be. So it did a great job of keeping my work brain ticking, but kind of it did confirm what I thought probably is that this isn't like my next career move as such. And then April, I started at the end of April. I spotted the job at Hopestead. It was, again, in similar vein, if you like. It's a local charity job. It's a small organisation. It's been around coming up for 5 years now, but small, but felt like there was a role to help it push up in terms of awareness and growth.
Bit of history then on the charity. How was that started and who by?
So it was started in October 2020. So it's part of what was Flagship Group, Bromford Flagship as it's become now through the merger. So a flagship being a housing association. The ethos there is about providing everyone with affordable, safe homes. So Flagship's got 33,000 properties in the east of England, providing them affordable rents, lots of them. A house building element to the business called Flagship Homes, which retails homes for anyone to buy. There's shared ownership options. So lots of skin in the game for Flagship around housing and supporting people, and reflecting ultimately that we have a housing crisis in this country. There's not enough homes, which drives up prices to make them not affordable, whether it's rent or purchase. And it's one of the drivers of why people end up homeless.
Yeah.
So it kind of felt natural, obviously, that Flagship should kind of support people who are in that homelessness situation. So
it's their idea to start?
One of the team there, it was set up. It was a really small team in its first days, 1-2 staff. As I say, we're only 4 staff in the team now, but we do lean on support still from Flagship in terms of our, there's a marketing team that we can work with, and that wider business, if you like, that's in the housing game.
Yeah.
And we'll talk, I'm sure, about some of the ways we tangibly support people, which again is helping that big community of people that Flagship is coming into, some of them coming from really tough homelessness backgrounds. So coming up for 5 years of Hopestead as a charity in its own right in October, and that role that I'm in now as fundraising manager reflects that Bromford Flagship still providing financial support to help us do the work we do, but with a growth in homelessness, having more revenue is ultimately the way that you can deliver more support, and that's hence my role.
So, in terms of the not the day-to-day of the business of the charity, but more of the support they give, and what, if someone approached the charity, or would you approach them? The day-to-day really of the help they provide. If you could break that down a bit.
So there's kind of 4 key projects. The first one is called Hope at Home. So all those properties in the east of England I mentioned, most of them available to tenants. Our teams who are looking after all those tenancies, welcoming in new tenants across the east of England, they will directly refer into our team, one of my colleagues in particular, when they know someone's coming from a background of homelessness. So that person or persons, it could be an individual, it could be a couple, it could be a family, are coming, and one of the challenges they have now is, okay, so they've got a roof over their head now, they're going to be renting a Flagship property, but then the next big challenge is probably that they're coming from a situation where they've got nothing to put in the house, no furnishings. And the reasons that people are coming from that in that situation is about a quarter of the people will be coming from a situation where they've faced domestic abuse. About another quarter will be coming where a relationship with a partner or wider family has gone wrong, has broken down. So quite often people are coming at short notice, they've never had their own home before, and they're not able, because of those circumstances, to have any furniture to come along.
And sorry, just to rewind a little bit in that process, who were those referrals coming from? Or?
So from colleagues who are managing Flagship properties across the east, managing tenants. Obviously that's a turnover all the time with that number of properties. But when our colleagues, those Flagship housing officers, are coming into contact with someone who's coming from one of those challenging circumstances, being made homeless, coming with nothing, they'll refer into our team. And at that point, we start discussing what furniture essentials do you need that we will provide. And that's about giving those people the choice of what they have. So we've got a little catalogue, and it's about the real practicality. So you'll need a bed, sofa, washing machine, fridge, table and chairs, toaster, kettle. We're at that kind of level of, the first things you need when you walk into an empty house, those things that start building your house into a home. And by giving someone a choice of, well, we're not prescribing what you have, it's this sofa, I like that colour, and so on, that starts making it your home. And they're new items. So we've got a supply chain behind this to provide the white goods, to provide the furniture, and we're funding it fully. So that project last financial year, we spent £1.1 million on furniture for around 3,000 households across the east, to move people from probably a very traumatic situation. They've got into a new house, but it's an empty 4 walls and a roof, and they're starting to take control of having the furniture they need. They're making choices. It's becoming their own identity and their own safe place. And I guess the proof of the pudding of that kind of work for that project is that 97% of those people retain their tenancy with us. And
in terms of the tenancy, do you get involved in that side of it, or the financials behind that side of it?
No, that's managed by colleagues. So obviously there's financial arrangements that are made
I've got to admit, I'm not familiar with how that arrangement works with council funding and benefits. I don't know.
But social rent, I guess, is the catch-all term that we're the ethos of Flagship, Bromford Flagship, the wider group, is about providing affordable homes. So basically lots of those properties are available at rents which are lower than the market rent, which we know is really, really high. So that's one project. So that's quite tangible, I think, in terms of helping someone set up a home because they haven't got one. And another project then is called Voice of Hope. That's more our kind of campaigning and lobbying type project. So this is about sharing the issues, the challenges, the scale of homelessness in the country that we're in this country. So I quoted the figures for the East, about 25,000 homeless. In England, there's about 370,000 homeless people. You know, it's a staggering number. Over 90% will be in some sort of temporary accommodation. So the people in the really horrible situations of being street homeless that you see.
It's true though. I mean, when we think of homeless people, we think of the people, you know, literally under a
doorway,
a shop by doorway.
Yeah.
And I imagine the numbers. That's a tiny percentage of the of the actual.
Most will be in temporary accommodation. And what is that? Well, that could be a mum and a child in a bed and breakfast accommodation while they're waiting for something to come up. It could be it could be a teenager on a friend's sofa or in a little box room with nothing of their own and no way ahead. So it's a variety of circumstances, but ultimately it's not their place. It's not the place where they can feel safe and they can build from. So £370,000. I googled this up the other day. I mean, that's the city the size of Leicester, quite a big city. Yeah. So, you know, that's the scale of how many people are home. I just think that's a number that I don't think is kind of well known enough.
No, it's not.
So Voice of Hope is about championing the scale of lobbying about the scale of the challenge, trying to drive change, trying to engage with the stakeholders, the government, and so on about what needs to be done.
What do you think does need to be done then in terms of homes? You know, what can be done to improve it?
So there's a supply issue. Is one of the biggest things. And I think this is something we've all seen on the news for many years. Really big targets about house building, and I don't think generally they get met.
No, they have done,
so there's a very straightforward supply and demand issue
but
there.
The 25-30% social housing, that must have helped over the last, 15, 20 years, is it?
Maybe, but I think there's still a huge target.
I know.
More building is needed. You know, there's a basic equation. If there's not enough housing, the prices in the general marketplace go up, and even at the scale of social housing, there is that supply issue. So within what our organisation does, Bromford Flagship, that the target there is to build 30,000 new homes that we will deliver in the next 15 years, just to help address this underlying issue of not enough supply of housing. So we've got another project called Hope Funds, and this is kind of quite an interesting one, really. This is about actually allocating some of our budget to support other organisations doing homelessness work, which just reflects that we have got our niche in housing and the things that we're good at, and there's so many ways, so many routes that people can get into support around homelessness. So each year Hopestead funds other organisations in the East who are also tackling homelessness to help their projects move forward and grow, to help share and bounce off each other and collaborate. And so we've just closed off the latest round of applications, this year's one. Last year we supported 17 organisations, charity social enterprises, with around 160,000.
I wouldn't have thought there were 17.
Yeah, and they range
East Anglia or just
and there's just such a diverse one.
Yeah.
So Norfolk Community Law Service was one of the organisations we supported. They can be a gateway in because they will speak to people all the time who are struggling financially, on the brink or in a homeless situation, and they are doing work to help secure the benefits that people are entitled to, which helps dial that financial wheel in the right direction to either prevent homelessness or help people move forwards. So the feed, actually, there's a crossover there. The feed was supported because there's work that the feed does around preventing homelessness, supporting people. So really eclectic mix of organisations have been supported in the past. And yeah, there's another chunk of money available there, which we're evaluating all those pitches.
So I recently heard Jan from St Martin's talk, and I think I'm right in saying, from what I understand of their organisation, is they do target more the homeless people out on the streets type homeless. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but that seems to be where they lie. But I mean, have you done anything with them, or are you likely to? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. There's something in train. And you've segued beautifully, and we didn't rehearse this either. So
there you go.
So the fourth project,
here we go.
the fourth strand is called Building Hope.
Right.
So this, within our own sector of homelessness, is about actually helping supply more accommodation in the East directly for people coming maybe off as a street homeless situation or other homelessness background. So in 2023, in collaboration with other organisations, Hopestead opened up a couple of properties in Ipswich, which is specifically designated for people coming from a homeless background, to help them move on, have their own place, start building towards the next step onwards. And we're involved.
But as temporary...
Yeah, as a temporary stage, but actually to help people and just have a bit more transition. There's a bigger project ongoing at the moment in Norwich about construction of more properties, and St Martin's a part of that.
Oh, great. Right.
So
I didn't know the connection. Actually.
No, you've done that beautifully.
There you go.
So
I did say to them, we'll have to get you on the podcast. Perhaps better space that out a bit, and we can have an update on that project.
So that's probably winter time this year. We'll be able to confirm more on that. But yeah,
I don't know if you know,
there's bricks and mortar.
Well, I'm involved in a property business as well. Have been for many years, and we often have landlords, buying properties from us, who then subsequently rent it to a charity, who would then presumably get paid by the charity, and then they would put in their own temporary tenants. And there's been lots of charities over the years that I've been aware of doing that. But the rents they're paying are very high.
Okay.
And I often think, well, how can they afford to do that? That seems a little immoral, because they're paying over what they should be. From a landlord's point of view, there's a high risk involved because of the types of tenant, but they promise to maintain and look after the property as well. But it always does seem a bit, I'd say, immoral for the amount they're offering to the landlord for that property. And I've always thought there must be a middle ground for that, But that's, of course, private landlords, and I guess organisations have to appeal to them. Yeah.
So yes, there's that project about funding other charities. Obviously, by its nature, is helping more happen, help tackle the problem of homelessness, either by preventing it or supporting people in that situation as a collective, with many other local organisations. So that spirit is there, I guess, in terms of what we're trying to achieve. It's not just about a funding model from us to help others. It's very much about how do we learn from each other as well.
Yeah. I guess, looking back across the career, you've probably touched on your biggest claim to fame or achievement. Has got to be the biggest sleep out. But am I right?
Yeah, I think so, because it felt like a momentum thing. Do you know what I mean? About lifting an idea at 2 months' notice, the first one, of saying, like, we need to do a sleep out, and this was in September, and make one happen in Norwich, and it's got to be in November because that's when others are doing it around the country. So that was one in Clapham and College car park in Old Saints Green.
Yeah, that's the one I turned up with soup and
60,
McDonald's, I think.
60, 70 people. So scaling it up over the next 4 years or whatever to 220 was great, and it was I think that kind of symbolised a little bit about rallying support in all the ways it did. There's another really interesting crossover in my career, which does fit the bill of kind of one of the things I'm most proud of. So kind of my last role at Aviva was managing the sponsorship by Aviva of Norwich City Football Club.
Oh, wow.
So I did that that was the last 4 years that I was Aviva, so 2008 to 2012. And as a fan,
season ticket holder, prior to that? Or?
No, so that's when Aviva took on the sponsorship in 2008 as the main shirt sponsor, the primary partner of the club. So yeah, I'm a fan, I'm a season ticket holder. So this was ticking a lot of boxes for me as a job to be given that role. to kind of, but the role was about embedding the name Aviva in Norwich, and so it was Aviva on the shirts before the name change had happened from Norwich Union as a kind of first step.
Yeah.
So that first year was about getting people in this community used to the fact that Aviva is
I remember
here.
thinking, who the hell is this Aviva?
Exactly, yeah.
Coming in here.
Yeah, exactly. And it's actually trying to just bring it put a human face to it and saying, well, hang on, they're sponsoring the local football club. And then the things that the sort of objectives for me and the team to deliver around that were about just show we're on the ground, getting engaged, running events for fans, doing things positively in the local community, and just show we're still here, we're actually not changing just because the name's changing. And the biggest project, or big project number one, was, say, the marketing director, and this is my third name check of an incredible leader and inspiring person I've come across, is John Kitson at Aviva, who was there for many years. Hugely talented business guy, incredibly creative and charismatic. And he said, right, okay, we've just paid whatever, several £100,000 to put our name on the shirt. So the big project I want you to make happen now is take the name of Aviva off the shirts for one home game and give it to a charity.
Oh, really?
So, right, okay, flip the logic here. So we partnered up with the EDP to promote it and be the media partner. And basically it went out as a public vote, nominate which charity should get all the assets and promotion and be on the shirts for one home game. And tons of nominations came in for charities. It was filtered down by an independent panel, and then it was a public vote. And the winning charity was the Benjamin Foundation.
Ah, I see.
So October 2008, home to Doncaster Rovers, Norwich City wore the Benjamin Foundation on the shirt. All the advertising that Aviva had at the stadium was flipped as much as we could do.
So I guess that's why it was a slam dunk. They ended up taking you
buckets around the stadium collecting money. And that's how I met Richard Draper, who I described earlier as the founder. So that was something that was great. But this kind of did probably set the seeds without me knowing of, like, I really like the football part of that job, but I actually really liked the fact that we're using the power of football and that sponsorship to benefit the community. And I think then when you wind forwards 4 years from that match, actually, that was something that probably led me to that kind of job I did. And perversely, yes, I'd left 4 years earlier. Oh, sorry, I met Richard 4 years earlier, but then here's a job that's popped up that actually is with the Benjamin Foundation that I knew a bit from all those years before. So there was a big crossover there, as well as an event that I was proud of making happen, and actually did win an industry award against people like Adidas and stuff like that. So, that was, yes, as you look back on it, it feels like it was meant to happen, but it was kind of all out of sequence by several years.
Well, I'm sure it stood you in good stead anyway when sitting for the interview at the Benjamin Foundation. Oh, by the way, I was partly responsible for all the money you received back 4 years ago.
I had nothing to do with the choice, but no, certainly got to know them.
So that's high points. I mean, low points, probably pandemic, am I right? I don't know.
I think it was, because I suppose the process of being on furlough at the Benjamin Foundation made for a kind of a very unsatisfactory ending from my point of view, because I never got to say goodbye to colleagues that I really loved working with. So it made that leaving process and transition really just, it didn't happen. So that felt like, it's a shame really, but it was what it was. It couldn't have been avoided. And I suppose, gosh, it's good that I'm not having to rack my brains about low points too much, isn't it?
Let's ignore that question. But most important, and probably the reason we need you in here, what can we do to really put this charity on the map? How can businesses, mainly our listeners, but how can they get involved and help and become your nominated, and obviously just reach out and speak to you? But what specifically, is there any specifics that we can ask for? Maybe people from certain companies. How can people get involved?
To start with, I'd just like to have a conversation with people. I'm aware that for a lot of people, this might be the first time they've even heard of Hopestead. But there's lots of businesses. One thing I love about being in Norwich is this is a business community which absolutely takes on board and relishes getting involved and supporting the community and the local charity scene. So I'd love to have conversations with people who are maybe thinking about, already next year. Who are they supporting? What are they doing? I know lots of businesses use that crossover of supporting a charity can be brilliant for team events, team days. You can harness those with fundraising. So there's not loads I'm sitting here with to say it's got to be A, B or C. I really love having a conversation with a business that recognises the scale of homelessness locally, the fact that we need more, ultimately, funds to help do more. And to have that conversation. We've got easy links, so if people want to run marathons or do cycle rides or bubble rushes or obstacle races, all of those things, we've got tons of those that we can access and give you a preferential rate if you want to fundraise for us. But the things I like most are actually teaming up, having a chat and saying, what do we want to do together? What works well? So let's have a coffee and let's see, make a plan from there.
Well, I don't know, unless you got anything to add. I think we covered most things there. But what I do generally like to ask, because obviously we're a tech company, is there any technology that you use, anything that's changing, evolving in the charity world, or AI? Does anything spring to mind that you think is changing or evolving or going to be, certainly in the property world as well? Is there anything?
I think AI, I'm just really just noticing, even being back in an office environment quite a bit now as I work at Hopestead. We're just along King Street. So, we're part of the flagship offices there. I guess you just pick up on things which, because I've not been in an office environment in my last roles for a while, you just realise how much you hear and see people using AI from the simplest things to creating presentations to actually just asking stuff. I think it's just becoming, it's already there. And even simple things like, it's kind of the smarter version of Google, isn't it? So I see AI playing a role in loads of different ways. But I suppose I'm probably a little bit old school. I lean on the technology, but actually in my role, I think what I'm about is meeting people and getting to know people. And I suppose that's what I try and bring to the jobs I've been in over the last, this part of my career in the charity sector is building it on, kind of getting to know someone, and then taking forwards,
and you're certainly here for the long term. You're not, you're not on some sort of, you've got a year contract with them or anything like that.
No. I mean, I had that opportunity in the spring, as I mentioned, to take stock of what I wanted to do next,
and you realise no.
At week one, I was I absolutely want my next job. I want to sink my teeth into something new, and I've got my teeth into something here that I think I enjoy it. I'm working with great colleagues, and I can see potential.
Well, thank you very much for coming in, Chris. I'm sure if any of our listeners can help in any way, or maybe want to set you up as their charity for the year, or hold an event, or do anything really, just to get in touch with either me or Chris and have that coffee.
Great. Thank you ever so much.
Mate.
Appreciate it.
The Norfolk Business Show with Danny Snelling. Sponsored by MT Comms.
Just a quick word from me. Absolutely thrilled with the response and feedback we've had so far. It really has been so positive. We're going to continue with it. I do just need to ask you all, please, just to take that 1 second to click the subscribe, like, follow button, share them. Just do something for me, because we're never going to be monetized. We're not going to make money from this show, and that's not our intention. We're a local Norfolk show, so we're never going to get those worldwide viewing figures that need to monetize channels. It's not about that. We genuinely are just trying to give back to the business community in Norfolk. So please do that favour for me. It will just increase the visibility of those guests we have on the show, so they get more impact from it. And who knows, if you're a future guest, then you'll get the benefit of that as well. So please do that for me. Obviously, we're sponsoring it from MT Comms. Please do keep us in mind if we can help with anything IT related, Office 365 support, cybersecurity, 365, that sort of thing. We also do telecoms, mobile, CCTV. There's loads of stuff we do. Just reach out to us and ask us if you can help with anything. Thank you, guys.